And that's what too many investors do. They rush it. I think I'd say that was the biggest lesson in creative. I can talk about any other headaches or lessons you want, but that's one of them.
Real Estate Hustlers podcast. I'm your host, Josh Appleman, founder and CEO of Appleman Capital. Today we're joined with Chris Prefontaine. Chris has 32 years of real estate experience and founder of Smart Real Estate Coach, is a 4 times best-selling author and Forbes Council member, guiding W-2 employees to investment success. Chris, we're excited to have you on the show today. If you could let the listeners know a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Josh. I appreciate it. Well, I'm not going to go 33 years, right? We'd put them to sleep, but I'll just give you a 10,000 foot view real quick. Been at this since 91. That included building, flips, all kinds of real estate in my earlier days. I bought a Realty Executive Franchise in the 90s, sold that off to Coldwell Banker actually in 2000. And then I started sort of the journey of my own properties then, 2000, and the coaching world. However, 2008 hit. I was prior to 2008 coaching realtors, not investors like I do today. High GCI, like $2 million, just need to get their life in order. That's kind of where I hung out. Running into the crash though, Josh, I got hammered. I had properties that almost all of them were upside down, and almost all of them had bank loans that I personally signed on. That's an ugly scene that I just described. So it took me 4 years to dig out, but that was the impetus. You could never tell me then that was good, but that was the impetus that really is what drove where we are today. Smart Real Estate Coach came about from me coming out of that going, all right, look, I'm not using banks anymore. I have to buy things creatively. I had no choice. My credit was in the toilet. So we started buying, I did, and then I brought my family in, owner financing, lease purchase, and then subject to existing financing. That's it. None of those include personal signatures. None of those include banks or raising money. Or my cash, because I didn't have any. That then sparked, just from us doing those deals, sparked some organic interest in coaching, and Smart Real Estate Coach came about. Fast forward, we've hit Inc. 5000 fastest growing companies the last 3 years, and have a team, thanks to COVID, a team all over the country now that doesn't rely on being right here in this location where I am today.
Nice. Wow. That's huge. It's transpired to be something that continues to grow too. And now you're able to help other people reach a level of success that they couldn't have otherwise. Could you talk to us about? I would say about your first deal, but I guess some deals that you've had learning lessons on, how you got into them, what the learning lesson was, and then how you came over those learning lessons.
Yeah, I can talk about specific deals. I can also talk about, and I'll start with this, and you can dig deeper, whatever you want to do. In creative real estate in general, of course, I wish I could tell you it's all rosy. We minimize risk big time, but it's not, of course. Real estate's real estate. So I can tell you since 08, so I'll go into the newer creative deals, the biggest mistakes that we've made in I think it was 19, it was before COVID. We had a rough year on the property side, not the coaching side. And that was because we got too aggressive, like between 14 and 18. We exit our properties with tenant buyers that should be able to get a home, but they have a delay. They have to prove some seasoning with a new job or, a couple of years tax returns. And instead of picking and being picky with buyers, we were putting people in there that really were renters with some cash on hand. And that's the wrong way to do rent own. Too many people do it that way. So as a result, we had defaults that we weren't expecting, and we had headaches in 2019. So the process now has been switched from a lesson learned, a heavy one, to super, super tight underwriting guidelines. My son, Nick, runs all the buyer side of things for both us and how we coach it. And we make sure that, Josh, now these guys are buyers and they just couldn't get a loan because of timing, like I just alluded to earlier. And then therefore now we have a 2 to 5% default rate. The industry with rent-own has like a 10 to 20% success rate. So we're like better than inverse relationship on that. So that was a biggie, a real biggie. That was us getting too anxious to get a check in hand, right? And that's what too many investors do. They rush it. I think I'd say that was the biggest lesson in creative. I can talk about any other headaches or lessons you want, but that's one of them.
Well, I think that is almost a strategy too. Is to do for some groups will approve the tenant for lease to buy, and then ultimately they're setting them up to fail so that they get the real estate back and just keep doing it. Yep. So it's good that your all's ethics are just different. You want to put somebody in a house that ultimately they will purchase, and they have to bunny hop from one time to another to get all their ducks in a row, so to speak.
Yeah, because people teach it the way you alluded to just then, right? They do. I'll like publicly teach it that way, and they might have that covered legally, but morally and ethically, it stinks. And so that's why we've made a major, major pivot.
Yeah. So does somebody have to have a full-time job in order to get started in what you're doing, or what are your thoughts around that?
As investors, I can't say they have to have a full-time job. Let me answer this two ways. If they have a full-time job, that's most of the people that come to us going, hey, I make strong 5 figures or 6 figures is pretty much our avatar. Help me get out of this. Now, do they have to have a job to do what we do? No, of course not, because there's some people that come in, not many, but they're set up financially, and now they're just looking to build some wealth. Okay, that's cool too. But most people, 98%, come in, they go, I got a job, or I had this other business that didn't quite work the way I wanted to. Teach me how to, either replace that or parlay that into some bigger numbers, because our 3 payday system, Josh, average profit per deal, like this is actual numbers from the community, low of 45 grand, high of $250,000, all 3 paydays. That's per house or asset. They can buy any asset. So that's pretty cool. That's lucrative. So you don't need to go out for most people and do 30 deals in a year. You just need to strategically learn it and then go out and hand pick.
Got it. How would you structure? Because we know debt's expensive right now, and in order to we always do the value add. Of course, we need to go in, renovate the units, get new cabinetry, granite, a lot of times new flooring. So we've got a CapEx budget, and bridge loans are extremely expensive, between, call it, just 10 and 14% in some cases. How would you structure a deal? Say it's a small balance, say it's 2.5 million with a $600,000 CapEx budget. How would you structure that to where it works?
So I'll look at any deal, any asset class, any size, big or small, if there's already existing debt, buy that with some subject to the existing loan staying in place, and then putting some owner financing behind it, because we don't take out new debt. Are there exceptions to everything I'm saying? Sure, on occasion we'll borrow privately, but most of the times we're looking to take over that underlying debt, let it stay in the seller's name, and tack on some additional owner financing that hopefully will be zero payments of the balloon or principal payments, as long as the project cash flows or the house cash flows, whatever it is.
So you're going to sub to existing financing. How are you going to gain the capex? Because typically you're going to look for a lender to finance the capex as well. Are you looking for the buyer to
For the
lend
fix
on
up,
that?
for the improvements. Gotcha. We don't do rehab, so I won't take a property on that. I'll take a property on as long as it's habitable. Let's talk residential for a second. I'll take a property on if it's habitable. I'll go to market and look for the handyman, the builder that can't get conventional financing, that loves the projects that say, hey, no bank financing right away, come in, do your sweat equity, and then we help you get mortgage ready. So I'll sell it as is. Very rare for us to spend a dime on a property.
Okay. All right. That's good. That's good. It's very turnkey. That works. In a lot of ours, we look to where we can add value through renovations, but it's a different model, and with different models come different risks too. But I do like the taking over the existing financing. I think they've got, and that could come in many different ways, but typically it's going to be a much lower interest rate than you can get out there on the streets right now.
Right now, you nailed it. Yeah. Okay. So I talked to a guy yesterday he's 3.5 years in real estate full time. Saw our company, called me up and said, "Hey, here's what I do. I kind of ran out of down payment money. I've got all kinds of bank loans in private lenders. I'm doing flips. I did okay, but I can't expand." I said, "Well," and he just passed on a deal because he didn't know how to do sub two. So just learning how to do creative real estate, no matter what else you do right now, it's okay. You'll do more deals. Don't stop what you're doing. Just do more deals, because you'll learn that skill set.
Yeah. I think it's take those renovations, then refinancing out at a later date once you've hit certain benchmarks. So how can someone transition from full-time investor and escape their 9 to 5 to real estate? What would be your guide?
We do. So we've done it for so many people. The most recent one was Rick. He was 30 years with the government, 30 working for the government, and he just left his job in May. And all we did is say, all right, Rick, because we've done it a few times now, it's duplicatable. We get, what are you looking to replace for salary? Some of them are less or more risk averse, right? So some of them say, well, I need this much in the bank, or I need 5 of your 3 payday deals, Chris, so I can see the light. Whatever it might be, we put a plan together and then predictably say, here's what you got to do to get that done in 24 months. If they like the workload that entails, great. If not, we dial the goal out a little bit further. That's all. So it is quite predictable. And again, I said earlier, most people come in want to do that, Josh. They don't want to keep going in the JOB, with very few exceptions. We have doctors, we have attorneys, and we have high tech, we have biotech, we have all kinds of people that come from the corporate world and go, look, I'm done with that. Show me how to exit out. They make good money. It's not that, it's lifestyle, right? It's the freedom.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree. And real estate is just that. But how do you all keep your pipeline full? Like, are you working with wholesalers? Are you searching the MLS? How are you constantly finding the next new deal?
Yeah, great question. So a little of everything except for MLS. So wholesalers right now are a great lead source. They're also for us with our properties. They're also a great avatar for our coaching business, because wholesaling right now, as you probably know, I had a guy on my show in November, Gary Pickering, attorney, who's on all these councils trying to help this not happen. But he said, Chris, it's happening. Wholesaling is going away in like 50 states over the next few years. Like, he's pretty adamant about it. So a lot of the wholesalers are looking to come here. Now, they also, to your point, have deals that don't fit in their box, right? They have to buy at a certain amount. Builders, the same way the builders. So they'll call us and go, hey, I got this lead on my website. There's no equity for us in it. And we can buy it. We can buy it sub 2 with our 3 payday system and make all kinds of money. We did one locally here. This rehabber that sends us like 2 a year. The lady owed about what what the house was worth. And we did a sub 2 deal. And about 4.5 years later, exited out of that thing. All 3 paydays are well over 6 figures. He couldn't make anything on it because it was leveraged out for him as a rehabber. So that's a great example to your other question about rehab too.
Got it. So you work with local. You're getting deals that are brought to you, and then working with those people, the wholesalers, and
That's sort of one box. And then the new person who comes in, we go, okay, here, let's get you set up. We have a service that provides for sale by owner, for rent by owner, expired listings that don't sell in the market. And we have VAs, virtual assistants, that call them. The ones that say 30% of them say, yeah, I'll listen to what you have to say. We call them. The investor calls them. So it's a little bit more ripe fruit versus cold calling. And then when a student does that, let's take us out of the picture. When a student does that and they're in our program, it's an interactive program, Josh. So it's not, here's our product, buy it, good luck. That's a lot of the product out there, unfortunately. We have what we call an associate program where they're doing deals for a period of time. We're coaching them along the way on that, and we're doing the deal with them. So this morning, right on my desk here is a lead sheet. I called for a gentleman in Wisconsin. He said, Chris, this is 2.2 million. I really don't know what to say next. I know he's interested. So I called the guy. I set up the appointment. I set up the agreement that my student's going to send him, and he's ready to go. It took 5 minutes. It's just that they don't know how to do that. So then I record that and send it to the student. Now they know that much more. That's what I mean by interactive. They got us on their shoulder.
yeah, well, yeah, for sure. And it's huge having a guide in front of you on the next step, because you can certainly learn as you go. But if you don't know the next 5 moves, then it's bigger than your head at that point. You've got to have somebody that at least guides you through to the next process.
Oh, and it gets scary too, right? Because they go to I'll use this example because it happens still to this day. You go to the seminar, the educator tells you how easy it's going to be and how rosy it is. And then the first curveball that comes, they don't know what to do. I have been criticized because in my book, one of the competitors, I'll call him, said to me, why do you tell people, I have a chapter that says what can go wrong? He said, you're going to scare them away. I said, no, I'm going to teach them that life kind of happens in real estate, right? And so many people want to mask that, whereas we just expose it and show them how to get through it.
Yeah, anything worth pursuing has not come easy. That's just
Right,
just
now
with
those
anything.
problems, right.
Yeah, I mean, and no matter what industry you're in, sector, it's all has its nuances and issues to deal with. But it just yeah, nothing comes without something on the other end. But
100%.
so are you all building up a portfolio of rentals, or is it transactional? What does this business model look like?
I like this question because the misperception in sort of terms of creative real estate is that I got asked before on shows, well, how come you exit out all your properties? That's no good. We don't. So what we build up is let's just say you have a portfolio of 12 properties. These 12 properties, the way we exit with tenant buyers, depending on what our seller terms are, or if we own it, or if it's a lease purchase, that will depend because we might have a term with the seller that needs to be taken out, right? So depending on that term, we can keep the tenant buyer in there longer before they cash out. Or if we own the property, like a sub 2, we would own it. We just buy it, right? We put a tenant buyer in there after they prove themselves. Instead of going to a bank and cashing us out, we can owner finance them and stay in the deal for 30 years. So I sort of call this wealth stacking, Josh, meaning I take a student's portfolio after like 5 or 6, gets to be fun. And then you start renegotiating terms or extending terms or owner financing the buyer. There's all kinds of things you can do to match your portfolio cash out dates with your personal needs, right? And that changes over time when you solve your cash needs. So the short answer is you can do whatever you want. You can cash out these in 1 or 2 years if you need cash, or you can make them longer term deals.
Okay, got it. So you are building up doors in order to generate cash flow. 'Cause cash flow ultimately is the freedom point. It's not if you're constantly in and out of deals. Well, you've just created a transaction
Good
lifestyle.
job.
Now you need to go find the next one to keep it rolling.
Yeah, that
Uh,
was one of my 100% one of my criteria coming out of the crash, because I had always been build a house, get a check, flip a house, get a check, sell a house, whatever. So I said, I'm not doing that again. That's how and why we trademarked the 3 paydays, because the 3 paydays are like, if you and I opened a restaurant, the 3 payday model makes sense. It makes sense because it's now money. That's payday 1, down payment. Then it's monthly cash flow, the spread, like you would a rental. You get that. And then you have the long-term cash out, which is all of your principal pay down in your markup. And again, you can stage that 3rd payday.
yeah, the amortization and that's huge. That could and that can compound over time for sure with real
Yeah.
estate, especially in the right markets with the right appreciation. Um, Very cool. So, how do you control hundreds of real estate deals with your wicked smart community?
Only through those 3 methods I said. So this was interesting. We were at an event. I think this was right after COVID, and we went back to live. And we said, "All right, everybody stand up. Where's the deal?" They all stood up. And we said, "All right." We started naming deposits, right, on properties. The entire room controlled somewhere around, I think it was like 60 million. The students, not us. And the spend was under $5,000, because all these purchases have a $10 deposit built into the agreement. That's simple. You also don't take ownership, so there's other disadvantages there, but you can control that and create 3 paydays with $10, literally. The owner financing deals are no money down, but because you put no money down, you usually have to pay the seller's transfer tax. So you're talking small, like hundreds or a couple thousand versus tens of thousands. And then the sub 2 deals, that's usually a headache you need to fix right away for someone, because the financial challenge, that's why they're willing to do that, sell you their house and keep the loan in their name. So if you're doing that, you usually have to pay transfer tax there too, because they can't afford it. So you're putting very little to no money down on these deals. And that's how you can control so much. Unlike the gentleman who called me the other day, wants to come in our community because he's kind of spent. He spent all his cash from high tech on deposits for properties, and he's at a limit. That's no fun.
Yeah, I want to find a sub 2 deal right on the beach. I know they're out there. He's got a like you all do direct marketing, so you're marketing direct to what could be distressed owners, but you're helping them out. You're helping them out of their situation, whether they
Oh, it's
lost their
a
job or downsized or what have you.
big time win-win. Yeah, Josh, big time. I was talking to a guy. He's an equity. He teaches, like we teach real estate. He teaches people how to buy businesses on terms. Kind of cool. But he said to me, Chris, I learned for the first time, and I assumed everybody would know sub 2 if you're teaching creative financing in businesses. He said, I learned how to do sub 2. And for the first time in my life, he's about my age, and he bought a house. He's from Europe. He bought a house in Florida for his vacation home on sub 2. He's like ecstatic that he knows how to do it. So you don't have to do it for business. If nothing else, learn it for yourself.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I've done one sub 2 deal, and it's the only thing that made sense. The owner had gutted the house and down to the studs, so the mortgage on it was like 138,000. The ARV was like 225. So you couldn't buy it and then add renovation capital on it, and then even have enough to there just wasn't and still isn't enough there for it to even make sense. But the big thing that I wanted was the land behind it was zoned industrial I-1. So we had that subdivided off and then took possession, of course, of the house. We've got a person in there that's getting it fixed up, a contractor that's also able to purchase it, refinance at a later date. But the interest rate was 3.6. I wanted the industrial I-1 land. We're building a flex warehouse on it, so it made sense. It was all around. It's the only thing that worked. We got them out of the deal that they were in, and we were able to apply some different tactics in there. So it works. It does work.
Yeah, I think if what you said with that, you said 3.6%, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So if your listeners get nothing else today, this sub 2 thing in this particular market for the time being, we are seeing weekly students or us grabbing homes. I just talked to a seller yesterday, day before yesterday, who was referred to me in Florida, young couple, no financial stress, have to move to Texas for a job though. And I said, okay, great. We're almost at the point where we have numbers and my boots on the ground are going to go view it. I said, what's your interest rate? She said, no, I said, is it fixed? She said, I think it's fixed. And it's somewhere under 3. Like just nonchalantly said that. So here we're going to buy this house at 2.75% or whatever. That's great. Can't beat that.
Yeah, the debt's the asset, not the necessarily even the land or the house. You guys keep the debt, and that's what's marketable,
Yeah.
for sure. So what's the outlook look like on your all's business model? How big you wanting to get it? Just national scale
Um,
it? Have some
Yeah, I mean,
intentions?
we're scaling it. Obviously, the evidence with hitting Inc. 5000 for the last 3 years is fastest growing companies. But more important, it's happening organically, Josh, because we obsess over things that we know will lock a student in, like time to first deal. That's a metric we track and obsess over. TTFD, we call it. Also, time to first sold, because right now, if we say, okay, our days are like 147 or 157, whatever the average is for the really fast and really slow, we average them all. If we can get that to say, I don't know, pick a number, 110, 120 days, why would someone leave if they're going to capture the 3 pages of the size I said, right? And then capture more quickly. So we obsess over that. And in doing that, it'll scale because the success will breed social proof.
Yeah, yeah, and having a mentor and a coach, it helps you gain clarity. I think once you know what you're looking for, you're able to get that whatever it may be much faster, and then the second one comes, the third one comes. So gaining that level of clarity plus having confidence of a guide behind you um, helps a ton for sure. Very cool. If somebody wants to get a hold of you, reach out, learn more about you, maybe join your program, how can they do so?
I'll give you just the general website, and then I'll give everybody a free book. And the book the offer we give for the book, Josh, is not, hey, free book, but put your card in for shipping. A lot of people do that. We ship it. It's our expense. So the regular site is smartrealestatecoach.com. There's 2 freebies that I would suggest, and the reason I do this is there's a lot of shiny objects in real estate, as you know. I'd rather have someone look at different niches and different education platforms and go, yep, okay, this is for me, because I did some free due diligence. So you can go on YouTube. You can see 300 or 400 deals we post. See if that's for you. You can take advantage of our free book. Just go to Wicked Smart Books, wickedsmartbooks.com/hustler1, the number one, numeric number one. That'll ship you out a couple books for totally free, our expense. And then last, if you don't mind listening to me for another 55 minutes, there's a free master's class where I go through kind of A through Z what we do, and I show some case studies. And you won't be bugged. It's an automated repeat. I'll tell you that. So go to smartrealestatecoach.com/masters class, and you get that for free.
All right, very cool. I definitely look forward to following you all, seeing how big you can get it, and certainly appreciate you coming on the show today.
You bet. Thanks for having me, Josh.
Thanks, Chris. Bye.